A lot of people were dumbfounded. When are you going to go and see it? When are you going to visit it? Well, we aren't.
Wake up in the middle of the night freaking out about the debt.
They didn't have a relationships manager. They've done all the dirty work for us.
There was an infill area, literally paddocks, which had really good infrastructure coming in. So a lot of roads, a lot of schools, shops, those sort of things. Infrastructure brings demand. That's the reason your property prices pushed up so quick.
There's method and strategy to it. The house and land package was I think, $635. The evaluation was $850 mark.
Good couple of $100,000 worth of growth. Ross, thanks for joining us. It's fantastic to have you on. I'm pretty keen to know about your journey, yours and Jen's. But and you got 3 little ones, obviously a couple of boys, and Elsie, your daughter. But it's got to be congratulations first, mate, because you've transitioned from your old home. You got your investment, and you've just recently settled on an upgrade home and an upgrade area, which will be better for the family and that sort of thing. But congratulations, mate. How's that all going?
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, very good. Very busy, very chaotic, but very exciting as well. So, yeah, as you said, it's been a busy few years with us, with our home life. We're sort of juggling the idea of whether to upgrade our home first or look at an investment property. And that was probably the biggest decision we've made in the last few years. But so far, so good.
Yeah, nice. And so work life, you're obviously in education. We're a teacher, more into the strategic side or math side of things now, and Jen's teaching as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a teacher for 15 years. Prior to that, at the moment, I do some consulting for primary schools in the learning space and mathematics and leadership side of things. And
awesome.
My wife works part-time as a primary school teacher too.
Yeah, nice. So take us back, mate. What first got you interested in investing, and then what were some of the fears or roadblockers and why you hadn't sort of taken that journey?
I guess my parents were always property investors, and they'd done that sort of with some experts that they'd known through family and friends, and I'd sort of always heard things that my mum and dad had done over the years, and that probably developed sort of the first level of interest. And then it was probably during COVID, actually, my wife and I, Jen, and I, we sort of weighed up our options, and we thought, do we want to look at upgrading our family home, our sort of current residence, or do we want to look at a potential investment? And we'd spoken to a number of friends and family as well, and some friends who had invested through OpenCorp as well, and I picked their brain for hours on end and done a lot of research and homework, and that sort of, I guess, triggered the idea for us to sort of take the plunge and I guess make that initial call, and then looking at the ideas and I guess the opportunities if we were able to invest, and where could we potentially invest as well. Yeah.
So you mentioned something that's pretty, like 20 years ago, a lot of our clients would come on and we'd do face-to-face meetings with them. And then that's progressed. I just got a stat recently from our team, because COVID's finished obviously now, but we're currently, and I had to do this for the Herald Sun for an article, which they wanted to know how many people are buying sight unseen. And it's 93% of our clients over the last 12 months purchased sight unseen. So they purchased a property through us but didn't go and visit the property. And about over 80% of those clients work with our team over the internet, over this sort of forum, as opposed to meeting face to face. We meet at our client nights subsequent to that with our clients in each capital city. But how did you go? What was it like for you putting your faith in a company when you've never actually met someone face to face, because you did that in the guts of COVID? What was that process like?
Yeah, that was probably the other challenge that we never sort of really forecasted when we wanted to go down the investment side of things. But I think because the sort of 12 months in the lead up to it, that sort of became a bit of the norm and the way of life, particularly in Victoria. So if it was at the beginning of COVID, we probably would have been far more hesitant to. Yeah. But again, I think the fact that sort of enabled us to take that plunge. We had friends who had, like I said, invested with OpenCorp already. There was a little bit of sort of outside noise about people looking to invest interstate. There was certainly outside noise of people wanting to move interstate as well. That was probably a risk that we thought people wanted to move up north and rent for a number of years and would come back, and that would help us if we invested in Brisbane or Queensland. But I guess, I think the first meeting we had with your team, they allayed all those fears and they sort of anticipated all those risks and mitigated that for us already. So cool. The questions we had, your team had already troubleshooted them, and I guess ease any of those anxieties and fears, and that probably made the process a lot easier.
Yeah, it's a pretty big decision. It's a very expensive mistake if you get it wrong.
Spot on.
Yeah, so you're in Melbourne, and the investment property that we selected for you was in Brisbane. Talk us through that property. What was the purchase price? If I think I've got it, but my memory might have served me correct. It was in the fives, is that right? What was it?
Good question. I can't even remember it exactly.
I've got it was either low sixes or high fives. I had him.
All up the house and land package was I think 635.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
Approximately.
Yeah.
And I think when we were talking about it with our family and friends, a lot of people said, "Oh, when are you going to go and see it? When are you going to visit it?"
Yeah.
I said, "Well, we aren't. Like, that's sort of, that's probably the other risk." And a lot of people were dumbfounded by that. But when we sort of shared them through the process that we had and the number of online meetings and the hours we spent, through Zoom calls and so on, a lot of people started to realise, well, that's probably what we do anyway. You'd probably only go and visit the block of land once.
Yeah, that's right.
It's all the homework and the data that sort of contributes to the potential growth in that area as well. And it being a home and land package, so it was a new home, there was eliminating all the risks of having to modify an older home as well. That probably made the process a lot easier too.
Yeah, awesome. I remember this is probably 20 years ago, so I've been investing for 30 years, and Felicity, my wife, when I was up in Brisbane driving around, and I drove through one suburb, Warner, which I think we had about 5 properties in there, and I took a couple of photos and sent them to Felicity, and her sister Claire and brother-in-law Aaron had also purchased a property in that suburb. And I'd driven and left the suburb, but I sent a couple of pictures to Felicity saying, these are our houses, because she hadn't seen them either. It was the first time I'd seen them. I had that many out there. And then she wrote back and said, can you go and get a photo of Claire and Aaron's house? And I just, because you're unemotional, and I couldn't go back to the suburb. I just said, I'll just send them one of those photos. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And so it was, obviously I did that for my sister-in-law, but but the fact is that what Felicity realised is, you don't get emotional about the house. It's the outcome that it gives you, as opposed to the property itself. It's the location and ensuring that it's the right property at the right point in time for the market growth. But what you obviously just got the property valued, or you would have had to, because you've gone through open finance to get the loan for your own home.
Yes.
Do you remember what did the valuation come in at? Do you remember?
The beginning of the year, I think the evaluation was just over. Again, I'd have to double check. I think it was around. I think the 850 mark. I think. Yeah,
right. So you got a good couple of $100,000 worth of growth in a couple of years, basically. So. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, I think there's always a bit of luck in terms of getting a quick return. For us, it wasn't about sort of instant sort of financial freedom or instant financial gain. It was always a long-term investment for us. Yeah. And I think that was the other point that we wanted to be clear with your team. And when we were initially speaking with Michael, he sort of reaffirmed that for us, that it was a long-term investment. It's not a get-rich-quick opportunity or anything like that. And that's certainly not what we were after. Getting some additional growth in the first couple of years has been an added bonus. And that's probably given us that quicker turnaround time to make the other investment of upgrading our current home to a bigger block in a better location as well. Yeah, no, it suits the kids a bit better. But, all right, so when you started investing, obviously everyone's got that light bulb moment they know they need to do something. Different people have different reasons for investing and different emotions attached to that. What aspirational reason there is. What were your and Jen reasons for wanting to invest? Is it anything specific, or is it a culmination of things? Yeah, it was a combination of things. I guess, as I mentioned before, my parents had always invested in property, and they still hold a couple of those properties too. So that is sort of something that's filtered down to myself and my brother and sister. That was probably new to Jen. So trying to sort of, I guess, upskill her and share her some of, the very small amount of knowledge that I knew. But both Jen and I have always sort of had a keen interest in looking at property around our local area and around Melbourne and Victoria. It's sort of just a bit of a casual hobby we have. Like a lot of people, who invest in their homes as well. But it was then speaking to other people who had property in Victoria, and then,
the whole media doom and gloom thing during COVID, and you read and believe what you want to hear and what you want to see. We just thought at that time we were both working full time. We were getting a regular income through COVID. We were both in teaching, so that was one certain sort of plus for us during that time. And we thought, well, a lot of people are having to manage their funds in a different way to us. So then that's when we reached out to your team and some friends who had invested as well, and we thought, let's just see if we're able to. We were, and I guess probably the other light bulb moment was that we actually had more equity and more financial freedom to invest in what we thought. So not being
very common
investors, and your team sort of said the same thing. We get a lot of people that talk about, I didn't realize I had so much borrowing capacity. And the other thing is, there should be no emotion in it. And we hear all the stories of people saying, I should have invested there. I should have invested.
Hindsight,
common mistakes from everyone, like we all make. And we just thought, look, if we don't do it now, we'll never do it. And it was also to sort of try and set up that pathway to some, I guess, financial freedom for us and for our kids.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, mate. So you knew why you wanted to invest. Talk us through the actual process itself of, getting, because there's different parts of it, and some parts are daunting or overwhelming. Talk us through the parts that were sort of, just caught you by surprise. I know different people take different things. There's the volume of paperwork, or, the contracts, or there's the build process, or the communication, or, getting a tenant. Different people have different experiences or different fears through that process. Talk us through how you felt through those.
Yeah, the amount of paperwork and online meetings, and again, it had to be online because it was through COVID, but that was probably a little hurdle we didn't see. But again, we understand the process behind that and the reason behind it. So that's just what you've got to do anyway. So that sort of wasn't, too much. It was initially, but again, the security for that. I guess the other thing was, it was probably the time it took from the initial meeting of wanting to explore opportunities. It came around a lot faster when we were presented with different opportunities to invest in terms of how much we could borrow, the opportunities to borrow, increase that borrowing capacity, and then looking at different suburbs and I guess different sort of estates in a suburb just outside of Brisbane. And again, we're not investors, we're not experts in that field. Michael was able to come back with a number of opportunities for us, and I think that's probably what took us by surprise as well, that we weren't pigeonholed into just one small particular type of house and land package. There was a couple of different things that we looked at, and then we sort of went by the guidance of Michael and your team to what we could go down. And then I guess probably once the house was finished and completed, the turnaround time of getting tenants in was a lot faster again, and I think that was probably
great.
Something that we read and heard that within that sort of, I think it was about 18 months from when we made the initial call, the first sort of call to see if we, if investing was for us, to getting tenants in the front door. The turnaround time was a lot faster than we thought, and that was putting more money in our pocket. But it gave us more opportunities to then reassess and readjust of how we're managing our finances as well.
Yeah, awesome. So you got you're dealing with Michael, who's our property strategist and director of investment services. So you're dealing with someone who's very experienced there. You also dealt with our finance broking team. You dealt with our relationship management team through that build process, and then you've moved into our portfolio management team now. Who did you deal with our finance broking team? Was it how did you find that process? Was it pretty straightforward? They deal with the banks on your behalf, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, they took all the hassle and all the outside time and outside noise from the banks. They took that away from us, which was great.
Good.
We'd spoken to a couple of other brokers who went through OpenCorp just to sort of get a second and third opinion. And again, that was also encouraged by Michael. So that was another thing that sort of reassured us and eliminated any risk that, we sort of weren't going all in one particular area too quickly. And it was interesting, the advice we got from brokers who weren't specialised in investment broking compared to the OpenCorp brokers said the things that your team sort of predicted that they would say, and that sort of dictated certain ways for us to navigate our loans, and then as I said, sort of reaffirm the reason why we needed to stay with your mortgage brokers Initially, we had Amanda, and then more recently we've got Dean and Stacey, and
Yeah, cool.
they've taken the stress out of dealing with banks. They've done all the dirty work for us, and
fantastic.
Made it a lot easier for us. And I think the other thing that friends who invested with different companies, when we talked to them about their experience and ours, they didn't have a relationships manager. We had Nat, who took care of all of that.
Yep.
Would answer any of our questions, whether they were calls or texts or emails.
Awesome.
And again, just allayed all those little fears, because this is sort of second nature to her on your team, and the first time for us. So that certainly made it easier as well. Yeah,
it's good. It's good to hear that you had to handheld. And I know different people have different fears or hang-ups on different portions of it, which is why I'm asking. I know Felicity's, my wife, she's really hung up. Initially was like wake up in the middle of the night freaking out about the debt level, the volume of debt, and I'd have to go through what good debt and bad debt is and why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Now she doesn't bat an eyelid. She's like, yeah, whatever, another one, go for it. Sort of. Yeah. But right, so you had Nat through the process, and then we found a tenant. Then, as far as portfolio management and your ongoing relationship with us, and communication, who handles that, and how have you found that?
Yeah, at the moment we've got Jess, who looks after our property and our portfolio. And she does a terrific job. Again, having someone on call that you can, text outside of your monthly rental income that's coming in and things like that, and again, often, she or, even Nat would sort of laugh at some of the questions we'd ask them, because they'd often say, we get this all the time, that's a common thing. And you could hear just the way that they'd speak to us as people, not clients. And that was another thing that we really valued.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing, we wanted to learn as much about the process as possible.
Yeah.
We wanted to learn about why, we were guided to invest in a certain suburb compared to another one, and guided in terms of using a loan at a particular rate and not this one. And that was something that was really important to us. And that's something that we've enjoyed through the process too, is learning all the little inside bits of information that you guys do on a daily basis that we don't have time to.
Yeah.
And it's given us more confidence to, again, assess when we're able to potentially invest again. Yeah,
awesome. And the obviously the ongoing portfolio reviews that you would do if you were looking to grow that portfolio further. You've chosen to upgrade your home at this point in time, which I know is new and fresh and exciting, that sort of things. What's your end goal with investment? Obviously, you've got debt with your own homes. I mean, some people are focused on, getting a couple of investments to pay that, sell those and pay the debt off, or set something up for retirement, or like what's your end goal, or how confident does the future, and how do you feel about the future now as opposed to, early days?
Yeah, a lot more confident now, given, I guess the short-term success we've had from our first investment property.
Yeah.
But we're well aware that doesn't happen for everyone when they invest in the first time as well. So, I think we got into the market outside of Brisbane at the right time, and there's a bit of luck involved there. So that's sort of given us some
method in our madness for our acquisition team. But no, you've done well.
I guess it's luck for us, but again, when we speak to your team, there's a strategy behind that, and there's a method to it. So we could have invested today or 6 months ago or 10 years ago, and when we did, that was something that was mentioned to us, that it's for long-term gain in investment, and that's what we really valued. And I guess long-term speaking, investment-wise, we certainly want to look at trying to get, if we're able to, and very fortunate to get a property for our kids, to try and set us up for potential early retirement or a semi-retirement. On it for Jen and I, and then look to pay off any debt on our current home. Again, you hear the buzz and the storm through the media, and you can choose to read and believe whatever you want to there. But we sort of value speaking to experts and going through this journey, not blindfolded, but certainly getting the information and the expertise from people who do it on a day-to-day basis.
No, awesome, mate. I appreciate it. Look, I'm glad the journey's been smooth so far, as smooth as can see. Did you obviously most people find that there's just so many things to take in and comprehend at the start, and to put their blind faith into an organisation. Well, obviously you did a bit of research into OpenCorp and the way we operated, but I'm very glad to hear that we've been able to sort of meet those expectations. Is there anything through the process that you think that you would have liked more help with, or you could change, or?
Not really. I guess the sort of hiccups that we sort of experienced, that was sort of external from the banks.
Yeah.
And that sort of wasn't really through, a fault of ours or, from the OpenCorp team. And I guess we had regular communication. That was one thing that we stressed about. We just wanted to be taught and to be sort of included with anything good news or bad news.
Yep.
So I guess if there were sort of any hiccups, we were always notified about them.
Yeah, cool.
And we were given sort of turnaround times. And if things weren't on time, we were told. So that was something that sort of, sat well with us. And I guess we all want to invest and get the house built and get tenants in as soon as possible.
Yeah.
We were probably a little bit naive at the start, thinking it was going to happen a lot faster.
Yeah.
Homes don't get built overnight and things like that. Right. And in newer states, things have got to be built and created for those houses to have tenants in and things like that. So I guess that was probably our misunderstanding, is that those sort of, I guess, that infrastructure around the outside of the house.
Yeah.
But that was being, I guess, adapted and built and improved at the same time our house was. But that's then just added further value to our home. So
that's right.
The wait was worth it. And I guess it was probably just learning as much about the process as possible.
Yeah. So you're in Pollara in Brisbane, the investment property.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
So I remember going through Pollara into 2018 and it being literally paddocks, but then it was an infill area in Brisbane, which had really good infrastructure coming in. So a lot of roads, a lot of schools, shops, those sort of things. So they would have been coming up as your property was getting built. So as yours got finished, all of that infrastructure would have been in play as well, which infrastructure brings demand, which is population growth, which then that's the reason your property price is pushed up so quick, which is, it's a win-win. So, no, well done, mate.
No, look, I know a lot of people say there's a bit of luck to it. There's method and strategy to it. And I guess that was probably the other thing, being first-time investors, we valued all that sort of outside information, that infrastructure, about, the improvement to highways and motorways and shopping centres and schools and things. And I guess they're all the things that people don't have time to do, and it's all done for you. And it was current. It wasn't, they weren't reports that were dated 5 years old or even 4 years ago. They were all current with the next 5 years of future planning too. So
that's
that was probably another thing that reassured us and helped us make the decision.
Yeah, it's it. You want to get into an area before it's got that pressure on supply, which gives you the growth, as opposed to after it, which is usually when the growths happen and people call it hotspots. But people buy in those hotspots and end up getting burnt because the growth's already happened. So anyway, no, mate. Look, I thank you for your time today and the insight. It's been amazing, and hopefully you and Jen can enjoy the new home.
Yeah, brilliant. Anytime. Thanks for having us.